Hello, everyone, and welcome to Episode 5, The Power of Perspective. In this episode, I will be discussing how having a sense of perspective when it comes to various life challenges can help you be more resilient and how you can develop a healthy sense of perspective. Let's get into it. I'm sure almost everybody here has heard the phrase, hindsight is 20/20. In case you're not familiar, it just means that you can see situations and moments in your past more clearly now than you could in the moment. Now, I don't think this is always true. There are times when we romanticize our past and think it was better than it really was. However, when it comes to insights and truths about things that happened in our past, there are plenty of times when it's easier to pick out those truths and insights after the fact, rather than in the moment. Here's an example to illustrate. When I was little, I used to have intrusive thoughts. I still do, but now that I know what they are and that they don't mean anything, their effects on me are minimal. I was about 5 years old when I first started having intrusive thoughts. Just in case anybody here is not aware, intrusive thoughts are extremely disturbing and upsetting thoughts that randomly pop into your head, often unprompted, and cause significant emotional and mental distress. Personally, I thought I was going insane at 5 years old. I figured nobody else had such disgusting, messed up thoughts. I was worried that I was a terrible person, or that I would become a terrible person, even though I never acted or intended to act on any of my intrusive thoughts. Later on, I was diagnosed with OCD, or obsessive-compulsive disorder, which, by the way, is not funny, ha-ha, everything has to be perfectly clean or you lose your mind disorder. It's a mental illness that causes deep and significant distress to people who have it and greatly impairs their quality of life if left untreated. Much later, when I was in therapy, I learned that these disturbing thoughts I was having were intrusive thoughts and that they did not reflect anything I actually wanted or liked. Intrusive thoughts are actually a reflection of the opposite of what you want, and there's a word for that, but I couldn't find the word that I was looking for, so I don't have it in here. Once I had that perspective, or once I learned that, it all made sense. I had been struggling with intrusive thoughts back when I was 5 years old and up until the time that I started working on them in therapy. Once I had that perspective, I was able to look back at so many of my experiences and recognize how OCD and intrusive thoughts had played a role in them. Now, back to the main idea of perspective. It should surprise nobody that as we get older, we gain more perspective. It just comes from having more life experience. However, even when you don't have as much life experience, you can still use knowledge you have of others' life experiences to put your own experiences in perspective. Now, I'm not advocating for comparing your experiences to others. It helps exactly no one to say, well, there are children starving in Africa, I should just get over my anxiety. Believe me, I've been there, done that, and it just made my anxiety and guilt even worse. Don't do that to yourselves, people. What does help, however, is getting the perspective of people who have dealt with similar problems. For example, if you have really bad anxiety, hearing what worked for other people and the perspective that they have now after also dealing with their really bad anxiety can give you a sense of perspective and maybe even hope. However, what's even better is being able to use your own life experiences as perspective. Only you experienced your life experiences exactly the way you did, so only you can tell yourself how you feel or how you felt about them. You can use your own life experiences to put a potential or a current life experience in perspective. For example, when I was feeling really nervous about grad school, I thought back to the absolutely abominable first semester I had in undergrad. During that semester, I was really struggling with my mental health, and one of my classes was hands down the worst class I have taken in my entire life, even worse than having to survive calculus in high school. When thinking about grad school, I realized that no class I took could possibly be worse than that one in undergrad, and that gave me some peace of mind. The perspective I had from taking that really horrible class allowed me to adjust how I viewed the potential horrors of grad school, and for the record, now that I've finished my first semester, I can say that hands down the entirety of grad school, even with all the work and studying, could never be as horrible as that class from first semester undergrad. I wish I was joking, but that really is just how bad that class from undergrad was. Perspective is also a powerful self-reflection tool. With the experience and wisdom that we have now, we can look back on our experiences and retell our own story to ourselves with the knowledge that we have today. We can tell ourselves different narratives about those times and experiences in our lives and use that to form our self-identity today. We can also look back at our experiences and see how we've grown and evolved over time and help us map a trajectory to become the person we want to be. And then, in 5 years, for example, we can look back at who we were now and figure out if we're where we want to be. Perspective really is the gift that keeps on giving. It helps us grow and evolve, face new challenges, better understand challenges that we've overcome, and all of that. I really appreciate perspective now that I have it and know how to leverage it, and I hope that now you're able to use your own unique perspective to your advantage. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Power of series. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new from it, and I will see you all in the next episode.